Hello, some people watching. Some more people watching apparently. Never done it live before. This is not planned, by the way. I've literally just finished fitting on a Sunday night and I'm hitting some balls. So if anyone's got any questions, fire away. But apart from that, nothing too special going on really. Or if you want me to hit anything, feel free to ask. Come back. Yeah, so literally, I don't even know if this is working or not. No idea. Old tech versus new tech. 90s, noughties, 2010s. So like, yeah, so really old, like 20, 30 years old. Yeah, I would definitely be up for that. We love doing new versus old comparisons. Anything like that is always really, really good fun, to be honest. It's working. Good man. Hope you're all well. I've got a mic on, so I assume it's working. Yeah, I hope you all had a good weekend. First time ever being live. Feels a bit weird. I've always wanted to do lives, to be honest, but I don't know, I was always so busy. There's so much going on in the studio. There's always, just always a lot going on, really. Very limited time, as we always say in the comment section for YouTube. YouTube is still a very part-time thing for us, and next year hoping to make it a little bit more, or put a bit more time and effort into the content if we can. Ooh, there we go. Nice little hook with a pitching wedge. Beauty. So yeah, like we say, I've got the studio here if anyone wants me to hit anything. Specifically irons, any drivers, shafts, whatever. Always open to that. This is my pitching wedge, which is a Vokey 46 at the minute. Take that one. I played yesterday and these wedges were absolutely shite, but that is generally just because I'm pretty shite with my wedges. Yeah, Alessio's Adventure. Any particular clubs you'd like us to test? Let me know. Ooh. Any of you guys play this weekend? Let me know where you're from, where you live, where you are now. Any questions or requests? I want to move the green back now. Yes, Jeff. I mean, we always want to do more in terms of, we've always wanted to do stuff out on course, but I feel if I want to do something, I want to do it like reasonably well. And I always feel in the studio it's easy. You've got a tripod and you just set it up and we can sort of put a little bit of time aside to film for a few hours or whatever. And it's quite easy to make it look pretty good. It's a controlled environment. You know, you go out on course, I really feel like, I don't know, you just want to do a good job. Maybe you need someone with a camera following you around. I don't really want to be taking tripods around. Maybe you want a drone, maybe a camera up by the green, depends on what you're trying to test. We were talking about doing like a new versus old wedge test, and it's like, it would be a really good video, I think, but we need to have really a hole or a green for an hour, 2 hours. You want to be hitting a lot of different shots because especially on wedges or anything really, like it's going to make such a big difference to strike. So you want to hit a lot of shots, really looking at all the strike, all the data, different lies, different distances, etc. So it would be really good content, but you need multiple cameras and a green on a course really for a couple of hours, which is obviously very difficult to get, especially around here. Ooh, that is such a bad swing. Yeah, that's what happens when there's no editing on YouTube. Everyone thinks you're amazing and really you're not. we got? What setup would you recommend for a high-speed player? Having trouble with the clubs. Setup at the moment, 58, 54, 50. Srixon ZX7 from pitch and wedge to 4-iron, and then driver. Having trouble with the clubs. What do you mean by trouble? Let me know. Axel, let me know what trouble you're having. ZX7 for fast swing speed play. I mean, the Srixon irons, they're fantastic irons. I think they're amazing across the face. They feel really good, but they are pretty hot. Even the 7 model, which is like that 32-degree 7-iron, they're quite low spin. So you can, if you've got a specific delivery, a bit like mine, bit inside, can get a bit flippy. They can get a bit low spin and they can go bloody miles. But they do feel great and they are really good. Driver and 4-iron. Again, there's so many options. Depends where you are in the world, what your delivery and flight characteristics are. I mean, for me, I don't really use a 3-wood, so I've literally at the minute got driver, mini driver, 3-iron. That's literally all I've got. So 3-iron is an iron off the tee, mini driver is a backup to driver off the tee, but then I do hardly ever play. So it's not like I really need loads of clubs. For me, when I go out, it's about trying to keep it anywhere on the planet, which still doesn't happen all that often, but yeah, it depends on what sort of player you are, what your delivery is. You're looking for low ball flight, high ball flight. Are you in Scotland? Are you in Dubai? Like, there's a lot of different variables going on there. Peter. Yeah, all good, thanks, buddy. Quick question. I swing to an okay speed, 108-ish, but got fitted for X-Stiff and I hate it. Can you recommend something that feels softer and lighter? I got smooth-ish tempo. Yeah, I do think a lot of fitters kind of do that as, it's a bit of an easy way around in-depth fitting, I think, in all honesty, is going, you have X swing speed, you need X shaft flex, you know, but it's not always the way. I actually think a lot of fitters do go too heavy, too stiff based around swing speed, and then the player it just feels hard work. You know, like you guys have all seen my swing. Generally, I'm at around, I don't know, anywhere from 113 on a slow day up to maybe 117 on a quicker day. And I play the KBS Max high launch shaft, which is the stiff as well. So 52 stiffs. It's probably somewhere around 50 grams at this length. Stiff, like a pretty soft, light shaft, you know. And generally speaking, I really like it. It still doesn't mean that I keep it on the planet that often, but I do really like it. So just because you swing a particular speed does not necessarily mean that you need a specific flex. So if you can go to a fitter that has a few more options and just say, look, can we be a bit more open and test some different weights and some different flexes and profiles, etc. And just with shafts, it really is, you've got to test to find out what is best for you. You really have. But other than that, it's really just guesswork. Keith in the US looking for a hybrid. Have driver then 4-iron about 200 yards. What's hot? I swing driver at 100 mile an hour, looking for something to fly 235. So if your 4-iron goes 200, you're looking for a hybrid to fly 235. What 4-iron have you got, Keith? Because if it's a bit of a beefy 4-iron, like a 790 or something like that, you might actually struggle to get a hybrid flying 235, unless it's like a 2 hybrid or something maybe, as a bit more of a low flighted shot, like off a tee, as a sort of like a 2-iron replacement. We do a lot of those, like the 442 hybrids are really good for that. QI35 2 hybrid, really good. GT3, pretty good. Depends on what flight you're after, if you're after hitting it into greens or off a tee, really. Guys, tiring talking. Grelis 33, I want to get fitted, but not for players' improvement. Should I target a handicap to be good enough for something better than improvement irons? No. Again, a lot of you have seen our content, and the concept around handicap and fitting, in our opinion, is complete BS. Like, you don't need to worry about that at all. It's really about delivery, which is obviously a lot harder to know, which is why the brands are going to market to handicap, right? Because everyone knows their handicap, but no one knows their particular delivery characteristics. You know, it's a lot harder for me to say, well, do you swing in to out, out to in? You know, what's your angle of attack and what are you trying to get to? Because the reality is you might be a high handicapper, but you might actually have a delivery that's quite good. You know, you want to hit a functional draw, you're a little bit from the inside, hitting a little bit down, right, face control might be a bit iffy and strike might be a bit iffy, and that's why you're a bit of a high handicapper. But if your general delivery characteristics aren't a million miles away and it's just a question of consistency, then you could get fit into a set of irons and keep them forever. You know, you wouldn't necessarily have to change because your delivery characteristics are pretty good. You know, a lot of the times when we're fitting irons, obviously head is going to be the vast majority of the characteristics of flight. We know that, launch spin, you know, getting the right loft, the right head design. So if you're in a window that's pretty good for your speed already, you know, you might never have to change. So go get fitted. I wouldn't worry about forgiveness too much. You've seen the amount of testing that we've done. I mean, I've hit some of these are T100s, my irons. I've hit some of these absolute dog shit today, and honestly, the drop off on these things is absolutely incredible. Like, you couldn't pay me to believe that like a 350 is much more forgiving than a 100. Like, honestly, you couldn't. And obviously we fit day in, day out, high handicappers, low handicappers, everything. So yeah, Grelis, go get fitted and just see what irons suit you best, mate. If it is game improvement irons, then for us, the people who we do fit into game improvement irons isn't necessarily because of handicap, it's because of delivery. If you're a bit of a scooper, then going into stronger lofted irons obviously helps bring the flight into a better window and get the height and carry and all that stuff where it should be for your delivery. But then if you do progress, and I do say this to a lot of people all the time, if you're someone who is a bit of an early extender, somebody who comes a bit across, gets a bit scoopy, delivers too much loft, that isn't the best delivery characteristic, right? You won't see any really, really good player delivering a club like that. So having strong lofted irons is generally a little bit of a band-aid for that delivery characteristic. But then if you do improve and you do get better, i.e. getting into a better impact position, hitting down, taking off a bit of loft through impact, everything a good player would do, then you would no longer require those irons. So it can be a bit of a chicken and egg situation depending on what you're doing in your swing at that time. What else we got? Alessio's, yeah, Keith, I love the Apex Pro hybrids. They work great and are coming down in price. Yes, so the Pro ones were the older, like slightly slimmer front to back, weren't they? So they were very hot from memory, like pretty low spin. So again, it all depends on what you want it for. Long arm replacements, the GT1 are fantastic. If you want something a little bit hotter, then yeah, Apex Pro, the 3 model in the Titleist range, stuff like that's been really, really good. Offset, I mean, offset is always going to be extremely marginal. Like, the delivery is obviously going to be the vast majority of shot shape. Like, everyone's going to have a natural path, a natural face to path. So although the offset's there to potentially give a fraction more time to square face, etc., reduce the slice, or all the kind of marketing hype that you've all heard probably about offset, it's marginal. It helps a little bit, but it's not really going to change shot shape much. That's going to be far more just down to your natural delivery characteristics. Drinking a sludgy smoothie with a mouth like Gandhi's flip-flop, probably not ideal. Trying to eat healthier though at the minute, trying to sort out my diet because I eat like absolute shite. I know it doesn't look like it because I'm slim, but I do eat like absolute shite all the time. I don't put on weight, but you just feel tired. I'm always too busy. I feel like I should be sat down. I was planning on just kind of hitting balls, but everyone's asking loads of questions. Alpine Trader, new to golf, but it's been going pretty well and people can't believe it's only been a month. Wow, that is very early on. That's good. However, doesn't bad putting affect handicap big time? So then I can swing irons good, but putt sucks. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's another thing to weigh up, right? Because, you know, it's another reason that fit into handicap isn't really all it's cracked up to be, because you're exactly right. You could actually be pretty good with irons and a reasonable good ball striker, but your short game could be absolutely rubbish, and that's why you're a high handicapper. So absolutely, if you do get fitted, something that we'll talk about all the time, how good do you feel you are in any specific area, and that can also sort of help dictate what you should go into a little bit. But again, we're always going to be looking at delivery over everything, really. Delivery over speed, delivery over handicap. Delivery is king, always. Alpine Trader, again, but I was told no point to get fitted in the first 2 years. I mean, wow, that's quite a statement, isn't it? Don't bother getting fitted in the first 2 years. I would disagree with that, definitely would disagree with that. I mean, I always think it's worth getting fitted, regardless of where you are, if you come somewhere like here, because we will always be honest, you'll get good independent data. We take you through all the swing analysis, exactly what's going on. So if you don't know, then you do know, and we can take you through all the various different scenarios as to what we think would be better for you. Maybe you do have a starter set and you are early on in the game and actually they're completely fine for you. Or maybe that, again, you've gone and you've bought a really strong lofted set of irons and you actually deliver it like that and you're getting no height and the gapping's all off. And so from that perspective, they would be absolutely awful. So we'd be saying, really, it's probably worth changing that. And if you go into a more traditional set of irons now, it means that they're going to be better now, and then you're going to kind of grow with them, and they're going to be better when you get better as well. So I would always say it's worth coming to an independent place like us, to be honest, because one way or the other, you get the answers that you want, which is always worth it. Sorry, I might miss a few now, because there's a few on here. Didn't expect too many questions. Where are we? 3D irons. I'll be honest, I've not tested any of the 3D stuff. I haven't. I kind of do want to. Again, the plans for YouTube are to have plans, because at the minute we literally don't have plans. We do a bit of filming on Tuesday, and I'm so unorganised. It's like, shit, what should we film today? Everything else is just a scramble of fitting, orders, checking stuff, shipping stuff. So yeah, no, I think I'd be really intrigued to test a lot of the 3D printed stuff. I've heard really good stuff about it, but again, it's so blooming expensive for obvious reasons. I just don't. It's a bit like why we've not really gone down the route of stocking really premium irons and stuff like that, because when it really boils down to it, unless you've got super high-end clientele, the performance doesn't really drastically change all that much. So it's like, well, if you're paying $2,000 for a set of irons versus $1,000 for a set of irons, and it's pretty similar, which it probably will be, is it really worth an extra grand? Probably not for the vast majority of people. Let me know. Struggling with 94 mile an hour driver speed, distance 220 to 230 average, does my head in. I don't know if that's a question, Daryl, but yeah, just working on speed, mate. I don't know how old you are. I don't know what your flexibility, mobility is like. But I mean, even Tom, like you've all seen on the channel, has been here, I don't know, 8 months or whatever now. And the very first iron test video that we did, if you look back, I think he was swinging around 78, 79, and now he's kind of 86, 87. And that's not really doing any swing work. It's just because he keeps bunking off doing no work, hitting balls all day. No, that's a joke. But he's hitting more balls. And maybe being a bit conscious around speed, and we talk about that stuff, but generally just hitting balls with intent, with a little bit of feedback. I mean, top tracer and stuff isn't great, but maybe it gives you a little bit of an idea of ball speed. But hitting balls with intent, without injuring yourself, is as good a speed training as anything. Obviously, working out, strengthening, all that kind of stuff, but really just working on hitting the ball bloody hard down the range, again, without injuring yourself, really does help. That's all I did, really. I've never really worked out, although I need to. And when I started in the industry, however many years ago it was, I was probably around 105 driver swing speed, and I got up to 127 at one point doing speed training, and that was literally just hitting balls hard as I could. And yeah, I did injure myself, so it's not a good idea. But it was nothing else other than figuring out, right, how do I just increase speed, hand speed, club speed, release patterns. What if I take it away here? What if I take it away there? What if I throw it here, throw it there? Just literally figuring it out half the time, and hitting balls hard is all I did, in all honesty. But it is hard work. Relatively small hands for a man. Use men's small glove, but I prefer the feel of a larger grip. Currently use medium, assuming you mean mid-size. Do you think that larger grips can impede or make golf harder for me? As long as they're not extreme to the point of where literally you can't hold on to it, then not necessarily. I do think a lot of people should be in slightly bigger grips rather than slightly smaller grips. I mean, I think this is, I'm not even sure what size this is. This is a men's small. And these are mid-size. I mean, they're a bit weird, the dry tacks. They're not as big as a normal sort of like Golf Pride Tour Velvet mid-size, but I've got mid-size with 5 layers on the top. I think getting a good fit in the hand is the main thing. So for me, I'm looking for 2 fingers just to be touching. And again, just to feel a nice, comfortable fit in the hand. I think that's the most important thing when testing grips. Okay, if you do go to a massive grip and you really do struggle to square the face, then maybe there's something in it for you. But generally speaking, for most people testing, you're not going to see a massive variance left to right testing grip sizes. So I think getting the fit right, getting the pressure right is a big, big key, and getting the comfort right is a big key. I think grip, it is that connection. It's got to be very, very comfortable. And yeah, it's just got to feel like you can do what you want with the club. So I'd say grip testing, all about comfort, grip pressure, and then tying that into your release patterns and what you're trying to do. Thoughts on performance difference between 2025 T150 against 2023 T150 against 2025 T150? They're going to be fairly similar. We actually haven't done a direct head-to-head on that yet, but pretty much whenever you've watched any of our new versus old head-to-heads, the outcome is always exactly the same. If you've got a well-fitted old model, should you buy the new model, there's generally not going to be a big difference in performance, no. So there won't be, no. Probably shouldn't say that, but there you go. I do think they look a lot nicer though, because I've obviously got the new, I've got the old T100s, and the new T100s do look a lot better. So maybe if Titleist, if I could blag a set off them, I might get them. But being honest, would I buy a new set if I was a consumer? No, I wouldn't, no. No, they're really, really good irons, and there's not a dramatic difference. But if they give them to me free, great, I'll have some. I look miles away on that camera, maybe should have looked at that. After replacement driver shaft after it broke, Kylie White 70 driver shaft. I'm assuming you're asking what you should replace it with. To be honest, you probably pick one of them up off eBay pretty easily. So if that's a shaft you had and you liked, I would just try and pick one up off eBay. If not, obviously go for a driver shaft fitting. I hate recommending shafts, honestly. I really hate it. Because obviously being a fitter, it's like you can have 3 different people come in the same day and they tell you 3 shafts the same shaft feel completely different. Like honestly, and they do completely different things for different players that swing similar. It's just like recommending shafts is so difficult because everyone feels differently and reacts differently. So yeah, it's why we don't do loads on shafts on the channel as well, to be honest, because it's great to see maybe what it does for me, but it's irrelevant, to be honest. Well, I say that actually pretty much all our videos are irrelevant because the outcome of every video is always exactly the same. Go get fitted. Because what it does for me won't necessarily do for you, and you might hate it. Club head-to-heads we obviously like doing because it's kind of factual. If you swing at X mile an hour with that delivery, this head versus that head is why we do so. We've cut a lot of shots out with our stuff now. But we generally hit so many shots just to try and make it a fair data set. So we know what we're showing you guys is pretty fair data. We'd never want to give you unfair data, hit 3 shots and show you an absolute bullshit comparison. So that's absolutely pointless. New lab driver, again, I haven't tested it. I don't really love the look of it, if I'm honest, but I haven't tested it, so I can't really comment. Again, it's all stuff, hopefully, in the channel, we can start to add different bits and bobs. Like that would be quite cool, and it's more of an actual channel, an actual sort of business, which at the moment it's really not. And to be honest, we've kind of limited spending a little bit within this business, within the YouTube side of things, because, I don't know, it'd be interesting to get your guys' thoughts, what you think about the perceived. I used to watch loads of TXG, and I used to love TXG. It's half the reason I kind of started the studio, to be honest. And yeah, it just looks like everything's so cool and everything's going great, but the reality sometimes is such a scramble and money's so tight, it's just not as easy as people think. Trying to run a small business and operate a small business, especially when, like us, we're literally honest to a point where we lose a lot of money because we're so honest about what people should do with equipment, whether it's a change or not change. We don't do that many aftermarket shafts because the vast majority of amateurs just don't need them. So we leave a lot of money on the table all the time, and that does hurt our bank balance. And we just put a new little bay out there, which cost, basically we've been going 4.5 years and we spent most of the money on that bay. So we're pretty skint at the moment, in all honesty. But yeah, all stuff we would like to do in the future for sure. I have some good numbers. So, this is Grelis from earlier. I have some good numbers from having lessons using the proper TrackMan launch monitor. Good, hitting 5-6 down, 3-4 inches after the ball. Okay, so you're hitting down. So therefore, your likelihood is you're probably taking off a little bit of loft, which is good. So if you're hitting 5-6-ish down with low point 3-4 after, then it's unlikely you're going to want very strong lofted irons, which every game improvement iron is very strong in loft. So I would probably go for a fitting, mate. I would ignore the advice of that PGA Superstore employee, and I would go get a fitting if you can at an independent, honest place. I know it's quite difficult, in all honesty. I know fitting out there can be poor at times, and a lot of the retail models are just not overly that in depth or that honest. They might just want to sell what they got in stock and stuff. So I know it's really difficult, to be fair. It's easy for me to say go and get a fitting, because I just assume everyone can come somewhere like here. But the reality is not everyone can come somewhere like here and get good, honest advice. Orion, big fan. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Provide much more insight. We do try, in all honesty. Like, it might, again, look like it's a 15-20 minute video and you guys just sit there and watch a 15-20 minute video, but that could have taken 4 hours, 5 hours of filming and 15 hours of editing to get that sort of 15-20 minute video, because we do hit a lot of shots, which means a lot of editing, and then we generally will re-edit because it's too bloody long. And we think, not proven, but we think it hurts retention and click-through if the video is just so long. So I think our average video is probably 25 minutes and our average watch duration is like 8 minutes, which, you know, if that's down, YouTube don't push the video, YouTube don't push the video, you don't get new viewers, new subs, your channel doesn't grow. So it's really, really, it's really difficult, to be honest. We do spend a lot of time trying to give you guys the most honest and in-depth data that we can. So hopefully you do appreciate it. So thanks for that, Orion. Alpine Trader, debating between ZXi4 or T250 or even 2250 launch. Well, you've just named like 3 very different irons there, like very different. ZXi4, strong in loft, very low spin. T250 kind of in the middle, still on the stronger lofter side, but not as strong as the ZXi4. Still lowish spin, to be honest, the T250, but it won't be as low spin. Sorry, the ZXi4 is very low spin, T250 slightly more spin, but still lower on the spectrum of irons. And then the launch spec is just insane, like launches and spins like absolute shizer. Spins a lot. So they're very different irons there, mate. So yeah, you might need to get a bit of advice there, I would say. I think I missed quite a few questions there, so sorry if I miss any questions. What's that red thing there? Sorry, you can tell I haven't done this before. I was just playing on hitting some balls. Where are we? LA Golf. Who's that? Daryl. LA Golf. Oh, that's about the, yeah, I knew what you meant. Yeah, the LA Golf driver. Is Bryson using that? I saw he was testing it. I don't know if he's using it or not. And to be honest, again, the amount of golf I watch now is just 0, because I'm always working weekends and get home late. John, hello John. Still loving my full bag we put together. Good. Seems to be a shift towards players using 7 woods. This is a good direction to head, or should it always be player/course led? Well, of course, same as everything, it should be player led, really. I mean, course to a degree, and where you are in the world will obviously have a factor. It should definitely be player led though in delivery, because there are some players that obviously will hit the ball very high and obviously probably won't benefit from a 7 wood, and maybe a hybrid instead of a 7 wood would maybe be a bit of a better shout. But generally we do a lot of 7 woods now, yes, especially lower to mid swing speed players, people who do want that, I don't know, 180 to 220 club coming into a green. 7 woods are fantastic. They launch well, spin well, get good height. 7 woods, 9 woods. We do a lot more of those nowadays than we may be used to. But I personally think that's one of the biggest areas of the bag that people need to look at. From a fitting perspective, that is the #1 area, is long irons into fairway woods. Almost everyone that comes into us has like 4 iron, 5 iron, and the vast majority shouldn't. Maybe even 6 iron. Stopping at 7, 6 iron for most people, then going into high lofted hybrids. 9 woods, 7 woods would make the game infinitely easier, create better gap in, all that stuff. You know, people talk about combo setting and forgiveness. I'm much more a fan, if you really want forgiveness, don't get long irons, get hybrids. Because there might be a marginal difference in forgiveness in two different irons. You know, if someone went T250 and T350, I personally don't believe there's going to be any forgiveness difference between those. But if some people believe that there would be an infinite amount more forgiveness going from a T250 4 iron to a GT1 hybrid. Like it would be night and day. So yes, it is a good trend that we've seen. 7 woods are good. How would you do a fitting with someone who typically uses Jumbo Max XL grips? Yeah, so we can blow grips on and off, not the XL size of grip. Like we've got some big Jumbo grips that we blow on and off using a compressor, but that is so big that it doesn't fit in our nozzle compressor thing. So but we would put on Jumbo grips, like taper, non-taper, whatever, as close as we could get for that player. So it makes it comfortable at least, which, you know, can be a bit of a pain in the ass if we go through 20 different shafts. You've got to blow grips on and off for 20 different people. But at the same time, if someone is using massive grips, you can't really expect them to get fitted using standard size grips. So that is a big positive about coming somewhere like us or somewhere independent. It's quite surprised even Titleist didn't do that at Woburn, but that's for health and safety reasons, because big company, we don't have so much health and safety. As you can see, I got a slash my finger open earlier because I just left a wood saw lying around and sliced my finger open. I probably shouldn't say that live on YouTube, but there you go. I own the business. I'm not going to sue myself. Maybe I would have had any money. But so S400, same. S200 in Vokeys, just a few grams heavier, right? Yep, S400, a few grams heavier. So if you have S200 with a heavier grip, it's essentially the same. Well, heavier grip's obviously going to change the balance slightly. So the balance would be slightly different. If you increase overall mass, then the overall dead weight of the club would be similar, yes, but it would change the balance slightly. Obviously, depending on what bigger grip you're putting on, it might move the mass a little bit up more towards the handle. So decrease swing weight, which in wedges might not be the best thing in the world, to be honest. You'd have to test it, but yes, overall mass would come up. People seem concerned with shaft weight over grip weight. Well, yeah, both are obviously an important consideration, but grip weight is really only a massively important consideration if you are going something very heavy. You know, a lot of people might go from a standard tall velvet to a mid-sized tall velvet, and there's not loads of difference. So for most people, that's not really a concern. But if you're going to like a +4 mid-size or jumbo, something with cord that's really big, then yeah, obviously that definitely would be worth considering and testing. Well, on that note, I do think a lot of people just put a heavy grip on and then whack loads of head weight in, and that also I don't think is the right thing to do. Obviously, you do need to test, but if you have a very heavy grip and then a very heavy head, the balance might be right, but you just end up with something that weighs a shed load of weight, and that's not good for most people either. KWG, ever thought about having a female join you for some videos? Trying to find independent data for women's side of golf is difficult. Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely wouldn't mind doing that. We have had, well, it was a while, Meg, it was a little while ago we did a fit in for her. But yeah, no reason why we don't. And the only reason we don't have as many guests in general on the channel is, again, just time. Like, everything's so last minute with me. I'm not organised with the YouTube stuff at all, so it's turn the cameras on and film. But it is why we do try and do, obviously, the slower swing speed stuff, because the only difference between, well, male and female, and that obviously will differ, because I'm sure there's loads of females out there with very fast swing speeds, but the main difference is going to be swing speed generally, right? So we do try and do the slow swing speed testing as well to keep it inclusive for everyone at different speeds. But yeah, absolutely, we will look at that in the future. Jeremiah, fitting for new iron and driver shafts. Is that a question? Have you asked something previously? Yeah, I'm not sure. If you have, let me know. Mate, Alpine Trader, you just send us $100. What? That's wild. That's real, thank you very much. That's absolutely, that's wild. Unless I misread that. Sure that says $100. What are you, that's mad. Thanks, mate, appreciate that. That's much, much appreciated as a YouTuber yourself. Awesome, thank you, mate. So ZXi4 or Titleist T250 launch spec and grow with them. Slower swing, so you got slower swing speed for sure, and already got intercostal muscle strain from doing too much too soon. Okay, yeah, definitely take it easy with that, mate. What's your ball flight like generally, Alpine Trader? When you hit a decent iron shot, what sort of flight do you see? Is it kind of a bit low launching? Is it a bit high launching? Does it travel through the air quickly? Does it tend to kind of float and look a bit weak? Let me know what you see in your flight, and maybe I can advise a little bit from there. But obviously, I'd always say, go again, you got to go test the irons really and see what you think. I will say the T250, as amazing as I think traditionally lofted irons are, and that is a very good iron, it does spin a shit ton. It's a very spinny iron. So it could be a bit excessive for a lot of people, I would say. But at a slower swing speed, I normally like a middle ground if I'm honest. At a slow swing speed, I probably definitely would rule out ZXi4, too strong in loft, too low spin. T250 would probably be borderline. I'd probably be looking at something more in the middle, T150, 243, maybe the ZXi7, again, it's a bit lower spin. And again, I wouldn't be put off by how sort of the difference in forgiveness between, I mean, I can get a ZXi7 out of the draw and hit it if you want, and I'll show you how good it is on off-center hits, because it is very, very, very good. I genuinely don't believe it's any different to the 4. So yeah, let me know, Alpine Trader, and I'll try and get back to you, mate. Wow, this live has gone a hell of a lot better than I expected. Not that I expected it to be bad, I was just one of the few people to join me for hitting some balls, and it's gone a bit wild. Gabriel, hi. Any tips to improve swing path? Went to sim yesterday and was on average 8 out to in. Okay. Yes, we can do some tips for improving swing path, mate. So let's take you through a few bits quickly. Let's move the camera. Okay, so I think a lot of you guys, knocking stuff over. I think a lot of you guys know probably from, oh, that's lagging, probably from obviously just watching me, I do swing massively into out. Because naturally my takeaway's always been quite inside, and I generally get a very big, so I get a little bit sort of inside. So I've always been trying to work on getting a little bit more that way. So my takeaway gets a little bit inside, and then I do have quite a big hip turn. I'm like a piece of rubber. I do get very, very deep, which is quite an integral part, I think, if you're trying to get the path less out in. We'll be trying to get deeper. What I mean by that is trying to get a bigger turn into that right hip, almost try and feel like your hands get more behind you, at least sort of right heel, maybe even from a feel perspective a little bit further if you can. I know that you might have some flexibility issues and whatnot, but I feel a lot of people restrict the turn by trying to almost stay on the ball too much. So what I end up saying to a lot of people is when you put the shaft across your chest, if you just naturally turned, so it feels like the shaft is almost more over your right leg, that's almost like the feeling that you want to get. If you stay over the ball too much, i.e. trying to almost do this, going down into that left knee too much, all you're really going to do is get yourself probably more there, and from there, like, you just obviously hacking straight across it. So again, I haven't seen your swing, but I've seen thousands of others, and that would be one of the things that I would generally see, people not allowing themselves to turn because they're like, well, I don't want to feel like I come off the ball. I'm like, no, definitely come off the ball. I actually prefer that. For me personally, it's not a sway if it's a turn, right? And you load into the right heel, and then from there, the first move is drop the hands into the right pocket, and then just try and hold and turn. I mean, Bryson had spoken about that a lot. Wide takeaway, hands into right pocket. It's the old Rosie doing the old pump drill. It's kind of getting those hands down is obviously an integral part generally of the golf swing. So trying to get wide, deep into that right hip, and then you literally want to feel like you're almost dumping it into the ground from there, and then let the hips turn from there. It'll either be that, or obviously the classic spinning out of the upper body too soon, which obviously, even if you did get a good turn and the upper body fires too early, hands go out, and then you're gonna be pulling down and left from there. So obviously video yourself, you're going to know it's going to be one of those two things, generally speaking. So yes, swing path. So I've had so many people in here that have said that they can't swing from in to out, and I pretty much get them to do it within one swing. And how I do that is I say, set up square and hit the ball into that map in the side of the screen. Because all they end up doing is pulling it inside and throwing it out there. And then my path was 17 into out. So generally speaking, the easiest way to think about path is just swing direction. Like, what direction are you swinging in? Like, where are the hands exiting? Where's the club exiting? Because if it's exiting over there, I can guarantee you it's going to be into out. So that's one of the easiest ways, but then people end up almost just hitting like push slices like that, because most people end up falling off or hanging back. So obviously the golden formula is obviously trying to get the path right while releasing, so you get it coming back and you get into out path of a closed face. It's a little bit of an extreme example, but it's definitely a good way of thinking about path. So hopefully that helps, mate. Let me know. Or if you've got any more questions. So Robert, if you like more mass in the head, which player's distance irons are solid? My ZX5 with Modus 105S, I have a hard time feeling the head during the swing. Well, I mean, you can get them built with slightly bigger tip weights, which, okay, it might move the mass fractionally more towards the heel, but generally speaking isn't a massive deal. Lead weight or tailor-made head weights are slightly heavier, generally speaking, because the way they build now, or the way they cut now, they cut to slightly shorter than other manufacturers. Head weight tends to be a bit heavier, so if you went into like 790, maybe went quarter of an inch longer, it would pretty much play around standard, maybe a fraction over 37 for a 7-iron, and the swing weight would probably come out maybe like D5, something like that, again, depending on shaft. If you go with shaft, a little bit of a lower balance point, a little bit heavier weight, that wouldn't be a bad shout. Other than that, yeah, rebuilding with tip weights, get some lead weight on there, lead tape on there. You know, still a lot of tour pros that use a shed load of lead tape, and they've got the best people building the clubs in the world. There's no substitute sometimes for a good old bit of lead tape, mate. Paul, as a high handicapper in the US, still waiting to break 100, but a bit of science and mechanic nerd. Your channel has been very interesting to see some of your fittings and experiments. Thanks, Paul. Glad you enjoy the channel, mate. That's good to hear. Naughty Mark 73, been using the 2023 P790s and looking to upgrade. Would you suggest the new 790s or should I try the P770s? Again, that is going to come down to delivery, my friend. 770, the way I look at it, is just a more lofted or more traditionally lofted version of the 790. Again, I know they're marketed towards different handicaps, but that is bull. There's no difference in forgiveness between those heads whatsoever. So it's what set of lofts is going to suit your delivery better. If you could do a more launch, more spin, then definitely 770s would be the way to go. If you're a bit of a scooper and hit the ball sky high, 790s will be better. But yeah, as always, go get fitted, test them out, try them out. But yeah, the 770, we do so many of them. We do so many. They're really, really good irons. And that's why we've fitted, I don't know, probably thousands of sets of them, I'm not sure. But that's why I'm so confident in saying there's not much difference in forgiveness between those two heads, because we hit them pretty much every day in the bay with all different handicaps. Football inflator on them. Yeah, well, we've got a massive compressor, but the attachment that we use for the gun doesn't fit on it. I probably could get a different attachment, to be fair, but we don't have many people asking for a Jumbo Max XL, in fairness. Alpine Trader, thanks, buddy. Scott, swing my irons 90 mile an hour, got a new home sim and increasing speed a lot since fitting. I play 2023 T350 and tend to have a left miss. Should I look at new irons? Yes, definitely. Definitely go get fitted and have a look. Because if you're already swinging at 90 and you're increasing, you don't need distance irons. Generally, those sort of irons are a bit more geared to square in the face up, sort of the more game improvement style irons. So yes, I would say go and get fitted and look at changing those, mate. Look at lie angle, look at head design, and yeah, just getting a set of irons that suits your delivery and speed. Lewis, Oki, Tacomo. Again, never hit them. I've had it on my list to do for a long time, to kind of go through their online fitting process, video it all, take you guys through it, order the set, get them here, check the specs, check the performance, test them against Titleists, whatever, Callaway irons, and see kind of how they stack up. So that's been on my list for bloody ages, to be honest. But as you found out in this live, I'm certainly not the most organised person in the world, so I will get round to it. But look, I mean, there's so many big names on YouTube using them. Yes, I know a lot of them do have shares, stakes in Tacomo, so there is a bit of bias there, obviously, but they wouldn't be using them if they didn't think that they were actually pretty good. And generally speaking, I think a lot of the direct-to-consumer stuff is pretty good. Obviously, the hardest thing is just getting fitted for them. That's the hardest thing. And I just would always say to people, guessing is just such a gamble, really, like such a lot of money, even direct-to-consumer clubs. It's quite expensive. So that's the problem that they're going to have, not being able to get fitted. And that's why I wanted to sort of do the online fitting and take you guys through it and maybe look at some considerations and stuff. But the reality is, if you don't know your delivery characteristics or delivery traits, then it's going to be very difficult to know that. But yeah, I think that they would be pretty good, in all honesty, mate. Oh, shit, what did I do there? Yes, we will do that Tacomo video. We will. Mark Lewis broke 80 for the first time this morning. Nice, mate. Well done. Hit 285 yards with the driver and finding the irons and wedges great. I think I've dropped 5 to 6 shots per round with the new clubs. And so Mark came for a fit-in. That's great, mate. Good to hear that the new clubs are working. And I think that's one of the best things about doing this job, really, is the feedback afterwards from people saying that, you know, we do a lot, maybe arguably too much swing stuff in the bay sometimes, but getting people to understand more about their delivery and the swing mechanics and simpler ways of improving, you know, getting rid of the slice or whatever the case may be. But when a lot of people do message us afterwards and say that the clubs are great, they're really helping, they're more confident, they're getting a bit more distance, whatever the case may be, helping to reduce their scores and get them a bit more confident out on the golf course and just enjoying it more, man. Like, that's what we're all in it for. We all get a bit pissed off of ourselves at times that, you know, we should be playing better, we should be scoring better, but the reality is golf is so fucking hard. Like, it's such a hard, the expectations of people that come in there is just wild. It's so wild. I'm just like, give yourself a break, man. Like, golf is so bloody difficult. We all want to be playing well, but we do it for the enjoyment at the end of the day. So if I can help people enjoy it a little bit more, that is the main thing. But yeah, well done, Mark. Good to hear that, buddy. Guy Bean, currently using a Ping SFT G series, standard stock shaft set at 10 degrees. I hit the ball quite high, which I'm happy with. Do you think it would be worth getting fit for a new driver as it's old? Pass. That is very difficult. I mean, that driver will be very high spin. So if you hit the ball high, there is a good chance that that's launching and spinning, probably too much, although the SFT is pretty left bias, so if that's helping you keep it in play, you might just need that at the minute and accept the loss of distance. But if you do hit it quite high and you feel like there might be a bit more distance on the table, there is some really other good options that are slightly lower launch, lower spin, and quite easy to square up as well. So, like I say to people, I think if you can come somewhere like here that's independent, open, honest, you can go through all the numbers, you can see them for yourself, we can give you our honest advice on whether you should or shouldn't change, then yeah, absolutely getting fitted is always worth it. Because even if you don't buy a new club, at least you know what you've got is pretty good. But I do get the hesitation of a lot of people not wanting to go to a retail store and get sold something. But yeah, go pay for a good independent fit so there's no pressure to buy and you'll get your answer one way or another. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate that, mate. Physics question. I can't be asking me physics questions. Jesus Christ. I think I need glasses. I lost that. If I add 1 inch to a 5 iron, keep the swing speed the same and optimize the lie, would the ball go higher or lower? I mean, if you kept the swing speed the same, it might be a fraction higher, so the shaft would be playing a little bit softer. Generally, if you find if you go a little bit longer, you pick up a little bit of speed, shaft plays a little bit softer, might increase that launch a hair, spin a hair, but if you kept the speed the same, there wouldn't be a dramatic difference, I don't think, personally. I think it'd be fairly similar, maybe a touch higher. Nikon Par, swing my 7 iron at 83. Should I use P770 or P790? Should I be worried about flyers anymore with P790 13 handicap? Please help. No, like the flyers aren't really a thing, to be honest. The reality of that most of the time, I always talk about the stronger lofted irons having probably worse front to back dispersion because of that. It's not really a flyer in the traditional sense of what people would normally think that it is. Okay, sometimes if you're in the semi and it is sitting up a little bit and the spin does drop a little bit and you absolutely nut it out the middle, is it going to go far? Yeah, it's going to go far, but you're going to have those variables with almost every iron to a certain extent. But when you have a head that's a little bit hotter and can get a little bit low spin, and when you hit a good one can go far, and then you get a little bit of rough in there, so it's going to jump, you can hit it miles, but you can also get a massive drop off. Like we say, there's no real difference in drop off from a player's iron to a player's distance iron to a game improvement iron. The drop off relative is pretty similar, but the problem with a hot iron, if it can get a bit low spin and potentially you turn it over a little bit, is it can go bloody miles. So the front to back dispersion, in my opinion, is going to be a lot worse with a set of irons like that than it is with something like my T100s. So I would obviously go and get fitted. It's going to depend on your delivery, as we said earlier, whether you fit better into 770s or 790s from a ball flight perspective. But yes, don't worry about the flyers. That's not really that much of a thing, in all honesty. They're very consistent now, I would say. So why do we not see more folks just bending a club like a P770 to a P790 to get the same distance but better spin control? Well, yeah, if you bend it to the same loft, it ain't going to perform that different. Like the head design is slightly different, but it's not dramatically different. So if you bend it to the same loft, it'll perform pretty similarly, really. So that's why I always say a 770 is basically just a more lofted version of a 790. It wouldn't be a dramatic difference, in all honesty. Can maybe do that in a minute if we want. I'll hit them both at the same loft. Why is iron fitting with 7 iron only? We have got some long irons now, to be fair. Some of the manufacturers are getting better with that, and that's something that we're looking at as well, trying to add some longer irons into the matrix. But the problem is, we've already got no wall spec. The amount of 7 iron shafts that we've got is ludicrous. Like, it is absolutely ludicrous. You know, so the amount of 7 iron heads we've got, ludicrous. Shafts, like, redonkulous. Like, and the problem is, not only cost, obviously, we would have to buy, I don't know, 4 irons, maybe not, maybe 5 irons, maybe 6 irons. I don't know, like, which do we buy 5 irons? So we buy 5 iron in every brand that we've got and every model, a brand that we've got. That's very expensive. We wouldn't be getting given those, you have to buy them. And then obviously you have to get all the shafts in all of those lengths as well, or at least some. So it's just logistics, draw space, money. Like, it will be very expensive. Like, none of this stuff we get for free. Like, I say to everyone, all these, even just the tips on the wall cost more than the quad. Like, forget the shafts. Oh, I've got a low battery, guys, so it might not be too much longer now. But yeah, so they're 7 iron shafts. So they're double racked 7 iron shafts. And then, so this is the new workshop anyway, which is a bit of a shithole still, but. So, and those are all 7 iron shafts as well. That's just 7 iron shafts. So we're obviously working on racking and stuff at the minute in the new workshop. So we're going to have hopefully a place for them to go. But yeah, it would just be logistically very hard. But you're right, it's something that does need to be thought about more. Because it is a very, very important part of fitting. And I think, again, if you come somewhere like here, all we do all day, every day is fit. So we do have a very, very good idea about where you should stop and when you should transition and everything like that. And we can advise pretty damn good, in all honesty. But if you go to a normal place and they just say, yeah, buy a Forta pitching wedge set, it's fine, then yeah, that's generally not good and the wrong thing to do. But the reason for it is because that's what manufacturers give, right? They obviously go to quite a large expense to create a fitting kit for their thousands of accounts over Europe, the world, I don't know. Imagine how much that does cost them to produce that and all the shafts. Like, must be wild if you start adding to 4 irons, 5 irons, pitching wedges, whatever. Man, that's a lot of money. And if we have to do it, obviously it's a lot of money for us as well, for a small business. So that's really the reason. But yeah, generally if you come somewhere like us who just fit all day, every day, we're very, very good and know exactly where people should stop based on speed, delivery, etc. I hope this is still working. So guys, again, my battery on this camera, or sorry, the phone is running low, so it might die. If it does die, apologies, but I do need to go home soon anyway, because the missus is probably kicking off. What else we got? Done that. Thanks, Ray. Hope you're good, buddy. Keith Rawson. I'm going to be in Oxford in November. I have a couple lessons with Liam. Wondering if you are around 3rd, 4th week in November for a fit-in. Yeah, I will be. Yeah. Can't access any of my diaries on either of these phones at the minute, but I mean, you can check all of our availability online on our website. But yeah, definitely will be, mate. Alpine Trader, do we fit axioms? Now that question is, do you want me to go down the wormhole or not on that one? We do. I have it over there. No, we don't. I think I've done 1 set maybe. Again, it's a very similar discussion as to the aftermarket wood shafts. Same thing. We don't sell many. We don't sell many aftermarkets, if I'm completely honest. For most amateurs, I mean, generally we'll give people the option. We start a lot with stock options, and then we might try a couple of aftermarkets. But yeah, it's rare that we see any benefit for most average amateur golfers, because the cost will obviously go up a shit ton. And if I'm honest, when it comes to iron shaft, that's even worse, because you have to have a component account with the company. We don't have hardly any component accounts with people, which have to go through a whole process, build in, then you have to stock components. That's quite a lot of money in cash just sitting there with components, and the time spent to build a set of irons is very time consuming. It's a lot of labor. So that's time that you need to charge people for. It's stock that we have that we don't want necessarily, and the benefit for the people, in my opinion, is very little. So there's a lot going on there for, in my opinion, no real point. Might be controversial in the fitting space, but it's the way I look at it, in all honesty. I did do a video on the Axiom shafts. Look, they're great shafts. You know, they feel a little active, if I'm honest. I think I compared them against the Project X. The numbers were obviously basically the same, because we know that shafts don't really change numbers. But yeah, they felt very different. Went for an iron fitting the first time a couple of weeks back, had a nice result. Could a second fitting at a different place to test even more brands be worth it? A second opinion. Well, I guess it depends on how much you trust the first opinion. You know, again, that's something that we do here. Why our fits are so long, so in depth, is that we want people to leave knowing that they've tested everything. If they want to test something, even if I say it's going to be terrible for them, we'll let them test it, because that's the only way you leave happy. You test everything. You test light, heavy, stiff, soft, different lofted heads. You want to try 770 and 790, fine. You want to try Ping, Callaway, Titleist, TaylorMade, Cobra, Mizuno. We're absolutely open to that. So yeah, it probably isn't a bad thing, to be honest. Getting a second opinion might confuse you more depending on where you go, to be honest, but never a bad thing, getting a second opinion. Deep red fat shaft irons from 03. Wow. Will I be able to stop playing golf when I get fitted for brand spanking new clubs? Will I be able to stop playing golf when I get fitted for brand spanking new clubs? I don't really know what that means. Does it mean that they're so easy to use that you'd barely be plowed? Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure what you're saying there, mate, but let me know. Let me know. But yeah, any more questions, guys, let me know. I'm probably going to wrap up in a minute because it's Sunday night and I do need to go home at some point. What club? Oh, okay. Nice. But yes, I did play yesterday, which is quite unusual for me, to be honest. I shot 6 over. I started par, bogey, double, bogey. So it's 4 over through 4, which ain't great. And then I was 3 over past it on the 16th or 17th. And I finished bogey, double bogey, which is always a beautiful way to end a round. Oh, would you enjoy golf too much to stop playing? I don't know. I think golf's always just such an addictive sport. If you're hooked, it ain't gonna matter what irons you're playing, I don't think, mate. I think you'll enjoy it anyway. Is the live going to be a regular thing? Yeah, well, I've been thinking about doing it for a long time, but you just fucking bottle it, don't you? You just think, I don't want to go live. Bit nerve-wracking, really, but come back. But yes, I do want to make it a bit more of a regular thing. We're going to be putting a little bit more time and effort into the channel, end of the year, beginning of next year. And yeah, I do want to do this to build a bit more of a community, I think, around the channel, because that's something we haven't done well, I think, really. Well, I mean, I try and reply to all the comments and stuff, to be fair. But it is very time consuming when a video goes live and then I'm sat on my phone for 3 hours after a video goes live. Doesn't go down that well at home. Because I'm always on my phone anyway. All right, 145 8 iron. Bit short. Towed the shit out of it. Stefan, really enjoy the videos. Good food for thought. Thank you. What do you think about high loft hybrids? 30, 34. That degrees? That's ridiculous. I don't even think I've got anything that's 34 degree hybrid. Did they even do something that high? 95 plus mile an hour driver speed. So if you're 95 plus mile an hour driver speed, probably swinging 7 iron, I don't know, like 80-ish. But yeah, I mean, again, high lofted hybrids are good, I would say. For a lot of people, maybe not that high. That's quite extreme. Thanks, Pinky. But again, it depends on the delivery characteristics and what you need. Are you someone who hits down on the ball a lot and might strike iron slightly better? Are you really shallow? Like, do you need more height? Do you need less height? I do like hybrids instead of long irons for the vast majority of amateurs, because the reality is we're not all brilliant ball strikers, and hybrids are definitely more forgiving than long irons, 100%. So it definitely would be worth looking into, mate. Go home, she will kill you. Yeah, she's probably watching, mate, fuming. Do you do putter fittings, and how much difference do they make? No, I don't. I don't, Mark, do putter fittings, which is a byproduct of space a little bit, really. I could have put a putter fitting out there instead of another full swing babe, but in all honesty, we're kind of a bit more specialist in full swing stuff. It's a bit easier for us. The honest truth is there's probably a little bit more money in selling a set of irons and a driver than a putter as well. And again, I think putter fittings are quite hard to do in a very small space. Like, we don't have loads of space here. So I think that they're quite difficult to do, in all honesty. Let me check the battery on this phone. Probably getting very low. 65-minute. How do I even check the battery? God. I don't even know. Not sure. Pass. But yeah, might die soon. I'm only 34. You think I'm about 64. Don't know anything about technology. Don't know anything about technology at all. Jesus Christ, 7 in, 2 out. If that geezer's still watching, that's why I hook it. Any driving iron recommendations? I'm off 18 home courses links. Currently have 17 stealth bomber. Half decent speed, looking for low out of wind. Yeah, I mean that's good. I got a PUDI 3 iron in my bag, which I really like. This comes out quite low. Got a UDI 3 iron, which I really like. They're very low launching. Got Ventus 8S. Should really know what I got in my own bag. Cameras never focus on shafts. Ventus 8S in there. We'll see if we can hit a couple. If my back will hold out. My back will hold out. But yes, these are very good. In all honesty, the new Ping ones as well are really quite good. They're very like hot, very rockety. But the TaylorMade driving irons are great. Ping really good. T250 U. They're loud. They go like rocket ships as well, to be honest. So they're quite good. Discord. Well, I've heard of it, but don't really know what it is. Whereabouts is Elite Performance Golf Studios in the country? Yes, Newbury. We are Newbury, which is like south central sort of thing, really. Just go straight across from London in the middle somewhere. My standard sling and draw low toe miss. Yeah, these do tend to go quite low. It's that 9 launch. Oh, fuck. Actually a shank. Don't know many shanks. Right, we'll find the middle and then we'll go home. Could be an hour or so. There we go, that's better. But yeah, it's very, I don't know how well you can actually see the ball fly on there, but it's very like, it's actually why I went 3 iron rather than 2 iron. Because even the 3 is like, that came out at 9 launch, 9.3 launch, 2.7 spin. I know I'm a bit of an inside drawer anyway, which is obviously low spin. But going to a 2 iron was like, you're launching this at 9 degrees. Not really any need to go lower, really. But these do feel really good. I think they're really, really forgiving. And yeah, really sort of nice clubs. Oh my God. Can't swing it, but it's not the club's fault. To be fair, I was a bit like this yesterday. My wedge play was actually really good yesterday, which is unusual. My long game was absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. You could be across the pond. Yeah, to be fair, we do have people travel quite a long way, in fairness, which is a bit wild. People do come a long way. See what I mean? I literally, if you look at where that strike was, that was almost a shank. Still gone 240 down the middle. Shockingly bad. Wow. Normally hit it that heely. Let's try and toe one. Okay, just need to try and toe one. Yeah, I do really like this UDI. It's kind of around, yeah, 250-ish total. Right. I'm going to go home, I think. What's going on there? Let's try and give it a bit more, break me back, and then it's home time. Yeah, break me back. Cool, right. That was actually a really good first live, guys. Thanks for anyone that joined and came along. is just so piss poor. Oh dear. But I am going to go home. Seems like very few put a spotlight on club delivery. Fitters around here seem to be the same way. Yeah, I don't understand that. Like, why would you possibly, like, the main thing is club delivery. Like, what else is there when you're getting fitted? That's the only thing. So yeah, if you go to a fitter and they don't really touch on club delivery and how the clubs are actually pairing up with your delivery, then yeah, absolutely go somewhere else, mate, to be honest. Go somewhere else. Yeah, a bit thin, but this UDI is quite a good little free iron, to be fair, I would say. I just can't actually hit it for shit. Right, I'm going to love you all and leave you because my back's sore, I'm tired, and I need to go home and get some dinner. Cool, right, I think I need to log off on this one. Thanks guys, appreciate it. I'll try and do it more often. How do you end this?